Hello, I'm Hal Ottaway with the Wichita Postcard Club, and it's time once again for another postcard of the week. And this week, we want to make the announcement that Dennis McBurney's checklist of all of the Max Halverson comics, starting with World War II and going clear through to the Gulf War several years ago. This checklist is now available, and that's what we want to talk about today. And Dennis will tell us where to find it online for the club members, and we'll go from there. But Dennis, why don't you talk a little bit about the what the checklist includes, and then maybe I can add a few notes about Max himself or something.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a little hesitant to call it my checklist because, like all checklists, this has been a group effort and it's been evolving over the years. We talked earlier that Gilbert Pittman and his wife kind of started with the military comics, and then that grew to another broader checklist of military comics by Reverend Garnhart. And then you did a presentation of January of 2023 that kind of expanded some of the knowledge about some of the Max Halverson postcards that I didn't know about.
Well,
Uh,
good.
yeah, the Texas postcards I didn't know about, and I had a set of the moderns that you had worked with Max on, but it had never been on a checklist. And the other piece, since Max did 64 non-military comics. I just had, they were numbered, but I had no real idea of what I had and what I was missing. So with this day and age of desktop publishing and my interest in checklists, this kind of evolved into 22 pages of illustrations and a little bit of biography and a nice little cover that I hope people like. But these are all going to be available to Wichita Postcard Club members now out on the members side of our website. I believe Alan's going to put a link to that in the YouTube posting. So look for that and please explore. We talked about Hal went old school. When he was proofing this, he printed it out all in black and white, but it's a lot prettier in color. So if you want to print anything in color, you're welcome to do that. These are color PDFs. Uh, we also see more and more people carrying around their iPads. These can be downloaded if you're so inclined to go ahead and just carry it around electronically. It's available for you that way as well. The postcard in the background, that checklist itself is divided up into sections. I talked about general comics. The military was actually divided up to Army comics by both Beals and Crop. And then we get into the aviation comics. And then the WAC, the Women's Auxiliary Corps, is also got its own section. There are only two jumbo postcards, one of which is still on my wish list, and another one I do have. And then there's three very scarce Navy postcards. One neither Hal nor I have. Um, and then we get into just the modern ones. Hal called them the Iraq War postcards. Max, in some of the correspondence that Hal shared, he didn't really find anything funny about the current wars in the late or the early 2000s. But being the person that he was, he did find some funny situations, and he drew those up and worked with Hal and got those published. I don't know how scarce they are. I've got a couple of sets, but they are a very interesting modern postcards, but they very much are in the world of military comics. So I'm not sure what more to tell you about it. It's been an exciting time, and it was not just me. Hal was involved early on. Donald Brown from the Institute of American Deltiology supported that. We've made contact with Reverend Dr. Thomas Garnhart, and he's going to give it a once over. And so we're releasing a first edition. Whether or not we have follow-ons yet to be seen. But the postcard in the background is my favorite postcard. As I mentioned to Alan and Hal earlier, that kind of reminds me of maybe the 15-year-old Max Halverson that hadn't quite gotten old enough to get into the Army, but once he did, he was busting proud. He was grown to like the Army life, and he did serve several years in the service and successfully completed his deployments in the European theater and came back home to Des Moines, Iowa, wasn't it, Hal?
That's right.
Yeah, and spent a very productive life in that area. So again, encourage you at no extra charge beyond your membership to go ahead and go out to the Wichita Postcard Club website, go over to the members, look at some of the documents. Alan may have to give you more details than that, but that's the part I remember. And please enjoy. You're always welcome to give us feedback on any of those checklists. I think that's all enough for me now.
Okay, fine. Thanks, Dennis. And just look at this picture behind the behind Dennis's smiling face. Just these two characters. It's the way that Max drew things. He had rosy cheeks on the men a lot of times, and ladies too, because he did that whole wax series. And they would always have big feet, and that
did.
shows one of the boots there, the Army boots. But that's just a quick way to recognize his work. He was a humorist. He was a wonderful man. I got to know him late in life. You know, you just know that he lives in Des Moines. If you're going through there, you might call and stop and see him. And I did that several times, and also several times made appointments, and we have lunch together or do something like that. Or his wife, Rose, fed me several times as well. She loved to cook and loved to have us all there in their home. Max was a wood carver. He was a painter, an artist. He made furniture. Everything in their home, pretty much, were things that he crafted, whether they were on the walls or the furniture you were sitting in. He was just a most interesting person. And briefly, to tell about his work, he started there in Des Moines, Iowa. That's where he got his start in making postcards. And I believe it was one of his teachers realized he liked to do cartoon things and draw. And they said, you know, you might go down to the Beals Publishing Company downtown and talk to them and see if there's anything you could do that might be fit into their line of postcards. Well, he was on his bicycle and went downtown in Des Moines, went to the Beals, you know, just marched right in. Here he was, a boy still in high school, and made the contact and everything with the man, and said what he could do, or thought. He took a few things to sketches to show his work, and they indicated, yes, we might be able to use you and so forth, and gave him a couple of little assignments to do, and he returned the next day or the next week, and they liked it. But they said they're coloring. He said, we have professional colorists that do our coloring, and they wouldn't let Max do his own color work for a while. Anyway, when he started out, the professional did the coloring, and they did a good job too, of course. But once Mac got his whole palette all worked out, and he just these cards grow on you. That's like Dennis was saying earlier to me, that he didn't really care about Max's artwork at the beginning, but they do grow on you. They're interesting, and they're just full of life and humor, and I think you'll enjoy it. It's a interesting patriotic way of collecting and thinking about collecting postcards. They're very available. They're on eBay. They're at postcard shows. A lot of the dealers will have them. They're not going to have all of them, or they're not going to have, all of the sets or series, but you will know because of this checklist what is missing, what is involved. And Dennis has each and every card photographed and in that checklist in color. So it's duck soup for you to go ahead and start collecting Max Halverson, Halverson. That's his name, and I'm so pleased to have recognized and to have been with both Max and his wife Rose. And I'm sorry to say they passed away before they could get to a Wichita Postcard Club show, but they had it on their list of things they wanted to do. But thanks, Dennis, for being here today and for telling this story to us and having this accomplished and completed, and now for our club members to enjoy and savor it with us. Thanks again, everybody, and we'll have another postcard to tell you about next week. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.